Hello everybody, welcome back to Bridges Brothers Barbecue. My name's Tom and I'm one of the Bridges Brothers. Today I want to be reviewing and talking about my offset smoker that I bought. I told you a couple of videos ago that I was going to give about 2 to 3 weeks for people to maybe guess to see what kind of smoker it was. If they did get it, they would get a Amazon gift card for $20. Unfortunately, nobody commented on the video and nobody even guessed, so that contest is now over. So nobody got the gift card, but I still want to go ahead and talk about the smoker, and also wanted to thank everybody who have been watching my videos up until now. My last couple have been pretty successful. I've had more views on the last two than I have for the other ones combined, so I appreciate everybody who has been supporting me so far. And I am going to be bringing out some more videos here in the future. But today I want to talk about the actual smoker itself. And I'm not going to be cooking anything today, but also in the next couple of videos I want to be doing a biscuit test on my smoker, just to see how even the cooking is on across the grate. And if you don't know what a biscuit test is, I'll explain it in that video. But today, without further ado, let's talk about the smoker. Alright, welcome to the smoker review. This is the Old Country Barbecue Pits. So Old Country Barbecue Pits is the manufacturer. The model is called the Brazos, or Brazos some people call it. It is one of the larger smokers that Old Country Barbecue Pits makes and sells at Academy Sports. So yes, I got it from Academy Sports here in town. They sell this exclusively on their website, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not buying it earlier. For years now, it has been a price point of $999, and you could pay an extra $100 to get it delivered straight to your doorstep, which was an amazing deal. If you don't know, just to let you know on how much it would cost a smoker of this size from another manufacturer to ship it to your house. I was looking at some that were manufactured out of Georgia. I'm not going to name the company, but they are high rated, very expensive smokers. You're talking like $6,000 for one, relatively close to this one. So $6,000 for a smoker that's cost me about $1,000. So to get that delivered to your house, it cost freight shipping, which when I talked to them, quoted me around $600 to $800 extra to get it delivered to my house, because it's based on weight. Well, this smoker could have been delivered to my house for an extra $100. The problem though is I decided to buy this right around the time that we're under some historic prices here in the United States with inflation and everything else going on in the world with, we've been having to deal with COVID the last couple of years. So that's kind of put a damper on things. And then recently, everything going on with Ukraine and Russia, and that's kind of blown some prices out of control. So I missed the opportunity for me to get it at $999 with $100 shipping to my house. I had to actually go to the store, special order this, and it was $1,199.99 when I actually purchased it. So I had to have it shipped to the store. I had to pay $1,199.99 plus tax. So it was around $1,270 or so. So after tax and everything, it was about $1,200. And I had to get a friend of mine to help load it up in his truck, and because he had a trailer, loaded up in there and got it to my house. And then we actually had to walk this monstrosity all the way to the backyard where it is now, which it was actually easier said than done. This thing comes with this nice handle right here and these nice big wheels, these wagon wheels. And what they've done to design this is it's got a really nice pivot. So it only takes about one person to pull up on this handle, and you can fairly easily walk this thing by yourself anywhere you really want to go. it's really heavy duty. Everything on this thing is made out of metal. There's no like plastic pieces on this thing. It's all, I think it's 3/4 inch steel. It's the thickest steel that they make in this model. You can get the Old Country Barbecue Pit Pecos, but it's a smaller grill, or it's a smaller smoker, I should say, with thinner metal. It would probably work here in Florida because it doesn't get, you know, cold. You need but you really want the thicker steel to help regulate the temperature, to keep it more even without having to burn as much wood. So, second thing I really like about this is this fold away shelf. It's extremely simple in its design, but it's extremely effective. You just lift up on this shelf, and it's got a lip where this bar goes into. So you take the bar, slide it into the lip, lower it, and now it's a steady shelf. And this thing has been a lifesaver. I put my thermometer on it. I put my pot holder on it. I put my charcoal chimney on it. I get everything just staged on it, and it's perfect. If I didn't have this gazebo, which by the way, I'll review this gazebo one day too. But long story short about the gazebo, I love it. Just so you know, it's one of the best investments I made. It comes handy with these little hooks on the side where I can hang my cooking supplies and keep them out of the way. But I'll do a full review on the gazebo some other day. But for now, if I didn't have the gazebo, this thing has its own shelf. It's got a really thick pipe over here. As you can see, this is my hand, and it's a pretty substantial pipe with a covering where you can regulate how much exhaust comes out of the smoker. The only complaint that I hear about people talking about is they wish that the smoker stack was, which is, the pipe, it's called a stack. If the stack was a little higher, so people sometimes will extend it about 6 to 10 inches. In its current form, with what I'm using it for, I don't do a whole ton of smoking. I do a good smoke once a week. This is fine for me. I haven't noticed any problems. But then again, I classify myself as a entry level or amateur smoker on an offset at this point. So I'm not going to claim to be an expert by any means. I'm still learning. But there is absolutely a learning curve with an offset smoker. I've watched video after video after video for the past 3 years trying to learn about offset smoking before I really took a deep dive into investing in one. Even though I still have all this knowledge about what to do, what techniques to use, what kind of wood to use, all that is great. But actually doing it and having the experience yourself is a whole nother ball game. I've learned more in the past month of owning this than I have in the past 3 years of watching videos on YouTube. So, not to discredit YouTube. YouTube's a great teaching aid. Without YouTube, I would have never been inspired, I don't think, to go out and spend this much money on an offset smoker, or to even feel confident enough to try one. But I got it. I followed the instructions, and I did step by step. And the first cook I did on here was not the greatest. Second cook, however, third cook, fourth cook, they're getting better and better and better. I'm learning how to regulate the temperature better out of the firebox. I'm learning how to control the smoke better in the cook chamber, the heat better in the cook chamber, and how to get more clean smoke out of the chimney. So, that being said, I'm going to go and open this whole thing up, and we're going to talk about what's going on the inside. First things first, I want to talk about seasoning. That's the first thing I really want to hit on is seasoning. What does seasoning mean? Well, seasoning is imparting oil into raw metal to make it, non-stick for starters. So it makes the actual cook chamber where you put the meat here on the grates, it tends not to stick. With the more seasoning you have on it, the less sticking happens with your meat. and it also protects your product. So it protects your actual smoker from rusting. So the oil will get in between the atoms of the metal, and will get into the pores of the metal and protect it, and make almost like a film to protect it from rusting. So when I first got this, the first thing I did was I opened it up just like this. I had everything open, and I went with a spray bottle filled with canola oil, and I soaked the inside of the cook chamber, the inside of the cook chamber, the inside of the firebox. I did the whole outside, and any part of this thing that I could get to with a spray bottle and a rag, I did. So as you see, that's why it's so shiny up here on top. That's from me seasoning it with canola oil. And I just want to go ahead and touch on that first before we go any further. It's important, if you ever get a smoker, first thing to do is you need to season it. I think this one came pre-seasoned, but regardless, I still do my own seasoning. So that's the first thing I did. So let's talk about the firebox. This is the firebox. What came on top of it was that grate, and it went right here. It slid into these slots. That grate is for cooking steaks or burgers or hot dogs, because you'll use the bottom of this. Your fire's down here, so it turns this firebox into a small grill, so you can grill like sausage or hamburgers or steaks, like I said, or pork chops. If you wanted to turn this into a grill, you could. Have I done it? No, because I can only probably fit maybe 4 steaks, possibly 5 steaks on that small grate down there. I've got a Weber that is twice the size of this, so I'm just going to use the Weber. If I'm going to be grilling, I'm going to use the Weber. But it's a nice thought in case I didn't have a Weber, I'd be using this. It would save me money. I would have to go out and buy a separate grill. So it's a nice addition if anybody needs it. Second thing, in the bottom of this firebox used to be a thick sheet of metal that had holes drilled into it and cut into it, and that's where the fire was supposed to be built onto it. As you see, it's not in here. I'll show you where I put it later, but I took it out, and the reason being is the grate, to me, resulted in less of a clean fire and more of having to fight with it. Because when I build a fire down here in the bottom, the fire sits down here and the ash bed can build up. Those hot coals can build up. So when I throw a new log on, it instantly ignites without losing any of the heat or any of the coals. What I found was happening with this included, I guess, fire plate, is it would have the hot coals and ash fall through the grate, and it would result in a fire burning out a lot faster than I would if I just built it like this. So yes, I know that eventually it's going to eat through the bottom of this, but it's going to take years to do it. I clean it out regularly. I have a shop vac. I come in here and vacuum out all the ashes after every cook, because ashes, if you don't know, are acidic, and they will eat through metal eventually if you leave it in there. So I wouldn't leave ashes in your cook chamber for more than, like, say 2 to 3 days. I would take them out and not let them sit. So let's talk about the design of this thing next. So over here is the side of the firebox. So the fire chamber is here, the firebox is here. Now we're off to the side of it. This is the door that regulates the temperature with this butterfly design, and the door opens up like so, and it closes with a simple hinge. This is actually one of my least favorite design choices of this entire smoker. I don't really like this design. It could have taken another, it could have cost another couple of dollars just to make this a cool touch handle, but they decided not to. If you touch this with your bare hand, with this thing with a fire in there, you're going to burn off your fingertips. This thing is hot. It gets as hot as the inside of this fire chamber. So I have to take my little rake I have here and usually take it to use it to flip up like this if I want to open up the fire chamber, and then using my little hooks that's on it to open the door. I know some people use hatchets or they wear gloves the whole time. It's just a hassle though, because if you're out here trying to get food off this thing, or try to get like if it starts raining and you're in a hurry to get stuff off the smoker, or to get more wood in the chamber, and you just happen to forget, you're gonna singe off your fingertips. This thing gets so hot. So I think that's a really poor design choice. It should have been like this, just a couple more dollars to make this a cool touch handle like these. These are cool touch, and you can actually open them with your bare hand. Yeah, they get hot still, but not nearly as hot as this would get. So I think this was a bad design choice, and I'm surprised I haven't addressed it. And they've been making these for years, so I don't know why they haven't addressed it. So what I normally do is when I make a fire, I keep this thing wide open. I keep this wide open. I keep that wide open. I keep the stack wide open until the fire is self-sustaining. When I don't have to keep babysitting it, when it's finally going, I'll shut the top and I'll leave this thing wide open until this will be the final thing I'll close. Then typically what I'll do is I'll crack it about that much and close that about like that. And that, in my experience, for me, that works the best of keeping a clean burning fire that's at the right temperature. That normally stays around the 250 to 300 mark. Because I normally like cooking ribs on this, and that's my target temp when it comes to ribs. So that's how I like regulating the fire with my door. As you see, it's cracked. So right now, I'm just going to close it up. But again, I would like to just mention that I wish Old Country would address this and make a better door. Also, some people, that's one of their main complaints too, is when they buy this thing or they get it delivered to their house, this little flange, or this little handle I should say, is like 9 times out of 10 people are griping because it's bent. Mine thankfully didn't come bent. In fact, mine came almost flawless. The only issue I had was I had a small leak down here in the bottom somewhere where there was like a pinhole where the weld had failed, or the weld wasn't done correctly. And since I've built about, I don't know, 10 fires in this thing, it has sealed it up with either soot or resin or whatever from the wood. Either way, it's fixed itself, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. So moving on to the actual cook chamber itself. So here's the cook chamber itself. I have been able to fit 6 racks of ribs on this thing quite comfortably. I had 2, had 1 sitting here, 1 sitting here, and I had 4 lined up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have probably fit another 3 on here or maybe 4 if I really tried. I try not to cook that many, but I had a lot of people over that one day, so I tried to pack as much on here as I could. But I try not to cook that much because, again, I'm still learning. And as with any offset smoker, there's going to be hot spots unless you buy tuning plates or you do modifications to the actual smoker itself. There's going to be hot spots. My hot spots that I found in here, and again, we're going to do a biscuit test later this week, when I can actually find out exactly where the hot spots are. But they tend to be over here on the side where the actual fire comes out, right about here, right where I have the thermometer holder. That spot will sometimes get over 500 degrees in that one area, which is, remember that baffle plate I talked about earlier that I had down in the firebox? Well, I repurposed it almost like a tuning plate, and I've put it down here in the bottom of the cook chamber to take the heat and try to funnel it more this way to try to have the hot spot be right here as soon as it exits. It's been working okay, but what ends up happening is there always ends up to being a hot spot right here and right here on the edge, right where it leaves, right where the smoke and heat leaves. So again, I want to really address that with a biscuit test later, but overall this thing doesn't really get, unless I'm really cranking it up with adding a ton of wood to it, once it gets going and the fire has been burning for a while, there's probably a 20 to 30 degree difference across the whole thing, and that's pretty good for me, because when I cook ribs, I want to keep them in between 250 and 300. 275 is my ideal cook temp for ribs personally, so as long as I keep them between 250 and 300, I'm happy. And this manages to do it across the whole thing once I get the fire going. Another thing I really like about it is, you see where the exit is for the stack or the exhaust for the chimney? That's right at grate level where the meat sits. So right where your food's sitting is right where the exhaust is leaving. So what ends up happening is it drags all these hot gases and the smoke, drags it across and pulls it across the meat. So instead of having a stack up here, where I see a lot of smokers put the stack up here, what ends up happening with that is the smoke comes out, and then when you get the draft effect going, where you're pulling, the draft effect is you're pulling air in from the hot side and it pulls it out almost like a vacuum out this side, because there's nowhere else for the smoke to go. So it pulls it. It's just like how a chimney works in your house. Same thing. So if you're building a fire over here and it comes in through the hole there, and you got the stack up top, what happens is it's going to pull the heat straight up to the top of the chamber and then straight out the top here. That's not what they've done here, and it's really smart. So the heat travels, it gets pulled up to grate level, and then your food gets all the nice heat and the smoke of what you want. You want a nice smoky, I mean, that's why you're barbecuing, right? You want smoke. So this accomplishes that. I really like this design choice, and kudos to the designers who made this. This is a really smart idea, and I see more expensive smokers out there, way more expensive than this, that screw up the design of the exhaust port. They'll put it up here, which I think is wrong. What else do I like about this thing? Well, it's really easy to clean out. It's extremely easy. All these grates pull out. They all slide on this railing. So it just slides really easily, effortlessly. The bottom one is the same. So I can slide it in and out. So I cleaned this the other day. I pulled it all out, and I took a shop vac and I wet vacuumed everything out of the inside of this. Yes, it was gross. It had a bunch of old, like, caked on, like, cooked, like, barbecue sauce and like drippings of fat and whatnot. But it came out, it cleaned up really nicely. I don't have a problem with that. The bucket has, there's a drain hole, so that's where all the grease and all the oil drains from the inside of the cook chamber into your bucket. That's something if you ever want an offset smoker, that is something you have got to look for. If it does not have a drain plug, do not buy it. That means you're going to have to drill into it yourself and install a drainage plug yourself, which is if you do it wrong, it's going to destroy the cook chamber. So try to find one that's already got a drain plug installed. One of the things I really wish they had added here is a hook, so I could hook on my bucket. I had to go find this little table thing to let my bucket be close enough to the drainage spout for it to not spill. I think in the future I'm just going to go to like Home Depot and buy a big orange bucket from them. But this is what I had, and this is what I've been using for like the past 2 years for barbecue. But I just wish I had a hook, so if I wanted to hook it on, I could. Again, this little handle also serves as a really great option to hang anything with a hook on it. Like, I have a lot of cooking utensils that have hooks, I'll hang it on this, and it's really convenient just to have it there and grab. And it would be even more convenient if I didn't have this gazebo again. But next thing I want to talk about is, I guess, my final thoughts on this smoker, and should you get one? All right, final thoughts. Well, this is a great smoker. I would advise anybody who's thinking about getting a smoker, an offset specifically, if they're thinking about getting an offset smoker, really avoid the Pecos, which is the smaller brother of the Brazos, which is this one. Just spend the extra money and get the one with thicker steel. In my experience, and from what people I've talked to, they are a little disappointed in the Pecos. It doesn't hold the heat as well. It doesn't cook as well. And a lot of those seem to have issues with the welds. A lot of people are griping about the welds. So mine has been almost flawless, straight from the store to my house. So just spend the extra money. This will last a lifetime. It's a small investment if you really think about it. If you really want to get into smoking, the thing I really like about it is look how thick that steel is. It's the thickest steel you can get in one of these smokers. I mean, the whole thing is made of this really thick, I think it's 1/4 inch steel. So it's really, really thick steel. It's what you want. It holds the heat the best. The one main gripe I have about this thing is it did not come with a thermometer. Now, I normally use digital thermometers. I use the digital probes, and I have them at great level. As you see, I have one that sits there, and I stick the other one over there. But it's nice just to see how much heat is getting up to the top of this smoker, to see how fast the temperature is rising without having to glance down at my digital. I can quickly just look, and I can see, so it looks like it's raising like 5 degrees every 10 seconds or 10 degrees every minute. So I can see how fast the actual temperature is raising just by glancing down. This thing cost about $12, and this is my main gripe with it. I mean, this is their own product. This is this old country barbecue pit thermometer. They sell it at Academy Sports or Sports Academy, whatever you call it. They sell it there for about $12.99, and for just another like $12, they could have included it with the kit. But instead, you're left with this little drain plug that I had to pull out. And when I pulled that out, I had to fit this, which wasn't the easiest because the threads weren't cut correctly. I had to rethread the threads because there was something, like, I guess it was a problem in the factory where they were threading it. It didn't do it correctly, so I had to rethread it, which took a little bit more of my time as in WD-40 and a few wrenches, but it's still an extra step that I don't think I should have had to do for spending $1,200 on this thing. This was only $12. They should have included it in the whole package. But other than that, that's the only gripe I have about it. I think it's a great smoker. You'll be seeing this thing in my next foreseeable future in all my videos. I'll be cooking. If I'm cooking on an offset, I'm cooking on this. And before I forget, one of the other things I really like about this is this heating plate. A lot of smokers don't have this. And the heating plate, I like putting blocks of wood on it. So let's say this wood got rained on. I can stick it here while the rest of the fire is burning. And this is cherry, right? So if the cherry got wet during a rainstorm, then I can put it here to heat up. And this gets really hot. Like, this is very hot. So what happens is it heats the wood up. It starts evaporating and drying out some of the moisture in it. So when you get ready to throw it in the fire, it instantly lights because you've already brought it up to temperature. I think that's a great feature to have a warming plate. Also, if I'm out here and I'm cooking, if I want to cook like a thing of beans or heat up some soup or something, I can put the pot right here and it can heat up. So I like it. I really like it. I think it's one of the best investments I've made. I've been having a great time with it. So that's my smoker. Again, it's the Old Country Barbecue Pits Brazos, and you'll be seeing this smoker in my next few years of videos at least. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this was informative. I hope I wasn't too long-winded, but I hope y'all learned something and kind of gotten a glimpse into my world when it comes to smoking. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next one.